as Brian said, I'm coming from the USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture. I'll throw around some acronyms. We're a massive organization. I'm housed in Agricultural Marketing Service, but we have other folks here from Agricultural Research Service, probably Food Safety Inspection Service, NIFA, National Institute for Agriculture. So we have a handful of us here, very large operation, 108,000 people scattered throughout every county in the U.S., as well as 92 different countries. I'll probably say AMS quite a bit, meaning Agricultural Marketing Service. And this topic, this presentation, is going to be on, well, really I'm going to give you a background on how we operate within AMS, as well as what grading is, commodity grading, what some of the standards are for commodity grading, particularly to poultry, how we're using camera or image technology in beef grading to improve our services. And then I'm going to leave you with some of the challenges and some of the opportunities as we go forward. So my objective is you're going to learn a little bit about our background, as well as maybe putting it together some of the pieces of how hyperspectral imaging can be used as we move forward to improve the services we're currently providing. So what is AMS? We are a marketing entity housed within the USDA. We're helping support U.S. producers market products domestically and internationally. And this is in a handful of different areas. Wow, this really the formatting got messed up, probably from putting this on Google. So marketing, grade standards. These are shields. USDA A grade or AA for eggs, A for poultry, USDA organic, that's coming from us. These are certifications, USDA prime. We also put out a lot of market intelligence to stabilize markets, to keep information symmetry in place, allowing markets to function the way they should. I'm coming from background of an economist. I'm also a data analyst. I love technology. This is where all these pieces kind of integrate. Also provide grants to different entities. It could be, well, it's focused on certain specific categories. Many agencies in the USDA provide grants. We also do a lot of R&D and then commodity procurement. Think about food banks and school lunches. This is also to help these entities, but in addition, it helps stabilize markets. If we say we have an excess of chicken thighs out in the markets, there's oversupply, there's not enough demand. Well, we'll come into the marketplace and actually do a purchase, and then supply that to these different entities. So this is kind of how we operate. Sorry about the formatting. I don't know what happened there. I want to talk about grading, the marketing aspect of this, where we're actually grading product. So there's two big entities here. USDA Food Safety Inspection Service, or FSIS. This is a required service. And it's a required service for inspecting meat, for wholesomeness, for making sure that the food is safe to eat by the consumer. And this is primarily funded via tax funds in the U.S. Whereas grading in Agricultural Marketing Service, this is a voluntary service provided to the industry. And the way this operates is we're providing a service to a company or a plant to be that third-party unbiased entity grading the product for quality. And if we see an issue with wholesomeness or ready-to-cook factors, of course, we're going to kick that out. And we do work in conjunction with Food Safety Inspection Service, but our primary role is improving the marketability of product. It's product differentiation for what would otherwise necessarily be a standardized commodity. We're that third-party entity. And the fees paid by industry, by the companies we provide service for, are offset by selling products to consumers who are willing to pay a premium price for that product. And so we operate almost like a business in a lot of ways. It's a way of essentially identifying value in a product. The value in utility, differentiating, like I said, it's a language between buyers and sellers as well. A lot of products that are shipped internationally will be required to be graded, or a buyer will require the product that is being sent to them to be graded. It also it transmits a signal of value. It's ensuring the quality is being met by the product itself. And it's, of course, a marketing tool. It's a promotional and marketing tool. And so this is just a quick background on kind of what grading is. And in poultry, A is your highest grade. Um, I'm going to talk a little bit about what this looks like, and I'm actually going to transition into how we're leveraging technology in the beef grading side. Uh, what we're looking for, our graders, the way they operate is they're trained, they're licensed. Training might take 6 weeks. They're licensed. If they pass tests, both manual as well as actual comparisons of grading product. And they have to hit a 95% accuracy or higher. If somebody's at 95%, that's really not sufficient. We want to see them getting closer to 97 to 98% accuracy. And this is comparing one seasoned grader to another grader. That's subjectivity, but we also have some skill associated with this. They're also assessed on a quarterly basis, so every few months a supervisor, a seasoned grader will go in and ensure that they're grading consistently from one location to another. A plant in Georgia should be the same standards, same quality of grade as California. And so that's a challenge, though. That is a very difficult challenge. We spend a lot of time ensuring that folks are trained, they're licensed, they're overseen. And they're there physically 100% of the time when product is graded. The way this operates is they're looking at sample selections to identify deficiency. So a 30-piece sample over maybe a 1 hour period on a line is taken, and they're looking for deficiencies based on a time frame, essentially looking at the concentration of deficiencies. If that concentration is too high over a running period of time, a running average, then we'll actually have what's called a retention. We'll retain the product. It becomes costly for the plant. It becomes challenging for the grader. But that's the way this process works. And we're looking for conformation, flesh, fat covering, exposed flesh, broken bones, disjointed bones. Really, some of the main aspects that we'd be looking at are all kind of listed out here. Discoloration, the feathers are a big one too. And so really looking for the quality components here. And I actually have this, we have a grading manual and picture series available here. You can see what this looks like. There's different levels of discoloration. Your slight, light, and moderate. And there's different standards based on the part, based on the whole body, and the size of the discoloration and type of discoloration, exposed flesh. Everything I just listed out right here is kind of shown. You can pull that up if you get the QR code, and just a good visual reference. We had this written down, but you almost have to have the visual reference as well to really fully understand that. We're everywhere. We're kind of all over the country. 7.7 billion pounds of poultry graded in 23, over 210 different facilities throughout the U.S. This entails different places we grade, not just chicken or not just poultry, but beef, lamb, rabbit. We also get into the area of grading within agriculture marketing service, butter, cheese, milk, cotton, fruits and vegetables, nuts, just a little bit of everything. It's a marketing tool for all of these different products. This map only shows the areas that I'm focused on, which is primarily livestock and poultry. I'm going to transition now. We're at a poultry science symposium, but I'm going to focus on beef grading because this is where we've been using technology for a period of time. Very basic camera technology, but I'll talk a little bit about this, how we're integrating this use into our operations. So within the beef industry, they've been using cameras since 2009. The last 15 years, we've actually been leveraging a system, both just a standard RGB camera system as well as some software to assist with the grading aspect. And over 60% of, actually I think it's like 63% of graded beef is evaluated with the use of an approved camera system. I'll walk through what this looks like, but essentially it's a handheld system like this. So there's some challenges with this. There are some flaws, and I'll get into that here just a moment. But this, I want to mention, this is not owned or operated by AMS, but we do go through an approval process. So we spend maybe 6 months going through ensuring the accuracy and consistency of the camera system for approval. And then we also validate the accuracy and consistency during each shift, as well as looking at it each hour. Very simple. I'm not going to get too far into hyperspectral imaging because that's the opportunity that's coming. This is some very simple technology right here, like a standard camera system. What it's evaluating is essentially meat and fat, in very simple terms. So what we're looking at is marbling within the ribeye to identify quality grade. And for grading beef, one part is taken and exposed. It's a ribeye area between the 12th and 13th rib, and that one area represents the entire carcass. So looking at the distribution of fat content, which is the white content here, within the meat, is an indicator of the entire carcass of the quality grade. A quality grade having let's say a non-graded animal is a zero, like just say par. Prime carcass, top of the line grade, that's about $250 to $350 premium based on that. So it makes a big difference, subtle differences in the marbling. And it is tiered, of course, so it's about $100, $150 spread per carcass. When you're looking at 5,000, 6,000 head per day, makes a big difference to the plant's bottom lines, the consumer, as well as us. The fat content over here is back fat. That's yield grade. That's showing the essentially what kind of yield they're going to get out of this carcass, how much meat to fat content, and the producer is paid based on the results of this. So we basically oversee this camera system. The way that works is on the very far left, that's a plant employee. They're taking a camera. It's actually held. It's held up on a rail, and they're holding it at the ribeye. I had a great video, but it was too big to put on the PowerPoint. But they're basically taking an image of that ribeye at an angle, and then it's providing an assessment, a preliminary assessment. It's a supplementary tool to our person. So we're using an objective tool in conjunction with the subjective person. Most of our graders have quite a few years of experience. I'd really say that they need about 3 years to be truly proficient in what they do. So this individual here, he's looking at the screen and what the preliminary output is providing from that, and then he looks at the carcass itself, and he either confirms that that is correct, that assessment is correct, or he overrides it and says, no, this is incorrect. I'm going to downgrade it, meaning it's lower grade than the camera said, or he's going to upgrade it. And so that's the way this process works. It's really about 7 seconds per carcass, very fast. What this has allowed is it's allowed these operations to run quicker. 7 seconds is very fast it's not fast in poultry, but in this case, it's allowing us to operate where we need less people in some situations, and they're able to operate very quickly because we have a preliminary assessment. Now, if there's an issue with the camera, that's a whole other story. It can be a challenge in those situations, but technology has been around. It's really been around since the 90s, and it's been helpful in this industry. We're also seeing a lot of recent developments. Something I hadn't mentioned is there's really one company right now providing this product in the beef industry. We're seeing now 2 or 3 other companies come on board. And the reason that really has not progressed, you're seeing older technology, is some of it wasn't necessary, but also there wasn't competition. And so we're seeing competition. Competition spurs innovation, and that is what's happening right now. We're seeing a lot of implementation and use of mobile applications. We're actually working on the process of approving those currently. That camera system at one point, you're looking at maybe $100,000. A mobile application, simple to use, $3,500 if you get the application and the phone itself. So big change, and this is great for these smaller companies. They want to have an objective measure. Phenomenal. This isn't hyperspectral imaging, but it's something that will work for what is needed. We're seeing talk a little bit about AI, ML. That system that I showed just a moment ago, that's an algorithm. It's really hasn't improved substantially over the years. But what we're seeing with machine learning is that very simple machine learning is coming forth, and we're going to see a lot of improvements. We actually have a remote grading pilot in place right now, and this is something that we'll be using is the mobile applications as we go forward. I'm talking usually smaller operations, 5, 10 head, and this allows them to take an objective measure, send it to us, and we can evaluate it. So it's very exciting to see what's happening and what's coming down the pipeline. AMS has approved the end result. We hadn't spent a lot of time investigating the product or how it operates necessarily. Well, that's starting to shift where we're looking into to understand how these products work. And in fact, I'll talk a little bit about some of the challenges we've faced with this technology, but we took about 1,600 images to a handful of data science students in Colorado State University, held a hackathon, and within a 24-hour period of time, they were able to create a model. Several of them were able to create different models. It was a competition that was 90% accurate. Now, that's not sufficient for what we need, but what we saw in just a short period of time is just using some simple machine learning that you can really progress quite rapidly compared to what we had seen the previous 15 years. So things are changing very quickly. And I'd say to have a more accurate model, you're looking at 100,000 images. They're running 300,000 or 400,000 images per week through these systems. And so there's a large opportunity to improve. Here's some of the challenges. I put in here: high accuracy, low precision, high precision, low accuracy, just to make that clear. But I'm seeing a 4 to 6% discrepancy between the cameras and the grader. That varies substantially. Some of these operations are running about 1.5% discrepancy. Some of them are about 7.5%. So huge difference between one location and another. This is a concern because really that's too much. We're looking for really about 1%, honestly, 1-2% consistently to be the same. Now, I don't know necessarily. It depends on the location. It could be environmental factors, and that does have a play into this. Humidity and when you're in a cold environment, wet environment. It also, you see there's somebody holding the camera. Well, there's a human factor there, right? There's a challenge with that. It's not a set in place system. We also see, well, maybe our grader is looking at this and they're subjective. Well, is it an objective tool that's wrong, or is it the subjective person? And so there's a lot of variables in there. I don't know exactly why sometimes this happens, but we have seen situations where the camera gets out of whack, out of kilter. We actually have to have somebody come in and recalibrate it. So that's a challenge in there. And I do want to mention that 78%, almost 80% of the discrepancies we see are downgrades, meaning the system is providing a higher grade than our grader is saying. And that makes a big difference in the bottom line. So you wonder, okay, these companies that are providing the service are paid by industry. Well, there are some plants where this is running 50-50. It's very close, very good. But then there's others where it's very high, 90%. It's downgrades. And so there's some things that we're just delving into to understand the technology better. We've approved it, we validate it, but during the time we're grading, there's some challenges we're running into. And then if this runs over 10% discrepancy, we pull the camera. That does happen. Probably every week or two that happens. And like I said, there's a handful of factors in here. So it's technology. There are challenges with it, but there's some major benefits too. Did want to talk about, as I'm transitioning back now into the poultry application, there's some big differences here. I do want to see this come into fruition with poultry grading, but there's some challenges. Sampling selection is used to identify deficiencies in poultry grading versus beef, which is, oh man, my formatting got all messed up. We had to upload this to Google, and I think it threw it off. But each carcass is graded individually in beef. Every single carcass is graded in beef, and that grade on the ribeye represents the entire carcass and all the parts. If I grade a ribeye, I'm also grading the brisket and the loin, everything else. Whereas in poultry, each part is graded separately. So that's a little bit more of a challenge because it's a little bit more complicated. two-dimensional view is largely sufficient with beef. Three-dimensional view is required for poultry. Well, this is where hyperspectral comes into play, right? This is a whole nother ball game. This is a whole nother area. 6,000 head of beef a day in beef plants, maybe 6,200 top end. Looking at 130, 150,000 birds a day in some of these poultry plants, well, it's larger volume, so there's more challenges, right? You have to take those images faster. It's a quick operation. The parts are a challenge. I mean, there's just a lot of differences between the two. We also see that some defects are not easily visible, maybe underneath the wing. There's some challenges with that. I think they can be overcome with technology over time. Also, the disjointed and broken bones. That's a defect. That's a challenging one, but X-ray technology could be integrated with this to identify that. These are some of the things that make it more of a challenge to implement successfully for the grading component of poultry. Many more variables compared to beef grading. It's a little bit more complex, more parts, more, I would say, types of defects as well. We're grading for defect rather than quality. High volume. And I put this in here because my people keep telling me, well, technology isn't perfect. No, it's not, but neither are people. So it's kind of like you have a balance here. As technology improves, we're going to see that transition more and more to assisting. What does this look like as we go forth? We're already seeing some of this at the whole body. I'm not really talking necessarily hyperspectral, but image technology being used for the whole body fryers. But maybe you're looking at more implementation of assessment of quality for parts as well. So really, ideally, it's using and leveraging the objectivity of image technology into this process where the final assessment is still validated by the grader, but there's potentially the opportunity to utilize less plant personnel. But we're still going to have to validate one way or another. Now, our sampling size our sampling times may change based on that. Maybe we need to sample less if we see implementation of technology where the quality has been improved and it costs the companies less, it costs consumers less in that case. But I do see this as an opportunity to limit the number of individuals involved in the process of, I would say, pre-screening. They're authorized graders, or people who are looking at the quality or defects before it's checked by the USDA grader. And then, of course, this affects the bottom line as well by reducing the number of retentions. When we retain product, it becomes very costly and time-consuming for the companies we work with. We don't want that. The company doesn't want it. Of course, the consumer doesn't want it. And so with technology, I really do think that we can have some of this screening done where there's less retentions, there's higher quality product provided to the customer at a lower cost. There's a lot of opportunity for that. And that's where we're going. It's the only way this can happen, though, is we in AMS, we don't have all these answers. So we have to work closely with Agricultural Research Service and these different educational institutions to understand the technology, but also the private sector. I really think that's what's going to step in, and the free market will dictate what we'll see going forward. The industry will drive this, but we in the government, I should say, want to be on board in understanding this so we can be part of that, because we want to be efficient. We want to be part of this solution and assisting the companies and providing that quality product to the consumer. And so that's really everything that I have. I have my contact information up here on the left. I also have a National Poultry Supervisor. I am not the poultry expert by any means, but Samantha Roderick is the National Poultry Supervisor, great resource. And then Chad Brillhart is an Assistant National Poultry Supervisor. All right, that's everything from me. I think I got done in good time. Thank you.